Trump and the White House staff are continually reported as being very nervous about it. So anything that distracts the people, nuclear war, something like that, he's eager to see happen.
Has a social media spat triggered nuclear escalation? That is the question we're asking. President Trump seemed to be offended by posts on X, formerly known as Twitter, by the former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, who announced on his Truth Social platform that he's planning to order 2 nuclear submarines to move closer to Russia. Let's listen to Donald Trump speaking to journalists last night before boarding his helicopter.
We just have to be careful. And a threat was made, and we didn't think it was appropriate, so I have to be very careful. So I do that on the basis of safety for our people. A threat was made by a former president of Russia, and we're going to protect our people. He was talking about nuclear. When you talk about nuclear, we have to be prepared, and we're totally prepared.
Now, Trump and Medvedev have traded insults in recent days after Trump said on Tuesday that Russia had 10 days from today to agree a ceasefire in Ukraine or be hit with tariffs. And Medvedev hit back, calling that a threat and a step towards war. Now, there's been no official reaction from Moscow, but Russian news outlets have been rather dismissive of Donald Trump's announcement. One former military commander is quoted as saying that Trump was throwing a temper tantrum. Well, let's now speak with John Bolton. John is the former US ambassador to the United Nations, and he, of course, was also Donald Trump's former national security advisor. John, welcome to the show. Thanks very much for joining us.
Glad to be with you. Thanks for having me.
What do you make of this move by Trump?
Well, I think it's inappropriate for several reasons. Number one, Dmitry Medvedev is a former president of Russia. He was always subordinate to Vladimir Putin, even when Putin was prime minister during an interregnum because of their constitution, which has since been amended to allow Putin to be president forever. But Medvedev is now equivalent to what in the United States is deputy national security advisor. He's not equivalent to the president. And it's simply not, I don't think it's appropriate to respond to anything that he tweets, but it's certainly not appropriate for a president to do so. And what's worrying about the tweet itself is that it seems to indicate Trump doesn't understand how our ballistic missile submarines or even our nuclear-powered attack submarines work. And I think that would give more pause to the Kremlin than anything else, that he may not really understand what he's talking about.
And do you think he understands what he's talking about when he said, I'm going to move these submarines closer to Russia? Do you think he really understood what that meant, and on a practical level, but also the implications?
No, I think it's a simple-minded response that says, well, to show I'm serious, we'll move the submarines closer. Let's just say they're the ICBM-capable submarines, the boomers as they're called. They don't sit around in port. They don't cluster around Antarctica. They go off on long time, 2.5 month missions called extended deterrence patrols. And so, according to a complex formula, all of which is very classified, there are enough ICBM submarines at sea at any given time to constitute for the United States a significant part of an effective second strike, a retaliatory strike, if we're hit first. And they can't be deterrent if they're wandering around far away from their intended targets. So it's a big ocean out there. They know where the targets are, and they can sail around undersea for extended periods of time. And whether they're closer or farther away doesn't make any difference as long as they're within the range of the Trident II ballistic missiles that they carry, which of course they are. Otherwise, they wouldn't be practicing deterrence. So if Trump doesn't understand that, that's a significant gap, let's put it politely, in his knowledge of the entire concept of nuclear deterrence.
Mm. And of course, he is somebody, and you know him very, very well. You worked with him as his national security advisor. I mean, do you think he's doing this partly because he's feeling under a lot of pressure that he hasn't advanced getting this ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. It doesn't look like we've advanced that much forward. And he has talked about this sort of 10-day deadline for this ceasefire, but it doesn't really look like there's any movement from the Russian side, does it?
No, I don't think it's at all likely there's going to be a ceasefire, but I don't think that's why he's under pressure. He's really under pressure because of the Jeffrey Epstein scandal and the demands of his own base to fully open the Justice Department files, to reveal everything that's possible, which Trump has been resisting after stirring this issue up during the campaign and promising full transparency. A couple of weeks ago, he turned around and said, all right, we're not putting anything out. Coincidentally, that decision by Trump came shortly after he was advised that his name was in the files. Now, I'm not suggesting, and neither is anybody else, that means he did anything wrong. A lot of names could be in the files. But it certainly is interesting after campaigning as the anti-Washington, drain the swamp, transparency, make everything public candidate, he has reversed himself on this particular issue. And the House of Representatives is already in recess. They're gone for August, talking to their constituents. We'll know in September if they come back, if this issue is still present. But Trump and the White House staff are continually reported as being very nervous about it. So anything that distracts the people, nuclear war, something like that, he's eager to see happen.
And do you think that's another reason in terms of these tariffs as well? Do you think that's a bit of a kind of distraction tactic, even though he does believe very passionately in tariffs?
Well, he's getting a lot of bad news, which is bad economic news, which is disturbing because many of the people who voted for him in 2020 voted on the basis that they didn't like the high prices. They were worried about continued inflation under Biden, and they thought they could trust Trump. So if the economy deteriorates, prices go up, growth slows down, employment drops, he's got a problem. And what happened yesterday or the day before was the Bureau of Labor Statistics came out with significant revisions of new hiring totals in the U.S. for May and June, and a much lower than expected hiring total for July. So unhappy with the statistics, Trump shot the messenger by firing the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which has gotten him in hot water, but it's certainly served the function of diverting from Jeffrey Epstein.
And look, his base well, the landscape of American politics. I mean, Trump famously boasted that, he could sort of shoot somebody in the middle of New York and his fans would still, vote for him. Do you think this Epstein case is the thing that will make some of his supporters suddenly look at him in a different way?
I certainly think it's possible, and I think he's suffered a significant amount of damage. When you break trust with people the first time, they may come back to you in a sense, but you never come back at the same level. And that's why this month off congressional recess, the Senate will go out fairly shortly, at least they think they will, is a real test. Normally, Congress and the president like to dump issues. They want to keep out of the public eye into August and hope everybody goes on vacation and doesn't pay any attention to them. And that may work with Epstein. We'll know in September when Congress comes back into town. But because it's his own base that's upset about it, it's not the left wing, it's not the media, it's his own base. This is something that if he can't get control of again, and I do think he's lost the narrative as of now, if he can't get back on top of it, that could be serious damage.